Hi guys, Jason with Luma Blades here. I just figured out something really cool with Fusion 360. I figured out how to do I guess a knurling pattern on an object. And what I mean by a knurling pattern is if you see here, see this type of pattern that is on the grips? Well, this type of pattern is something that's quite useful in the firearms world and the knife world and many other applications. I could never figure out how to do it when I worked in draft site. I tried working in SolidWorks before this. And what I used to do is I used to just draw lines, cross-hatching them. It took forever, and I'd raise and lower everything. So it was a nightmare. So you can understand how excited and happy I am that I just learned how to do this. I just sat there and just wrapped my head around it. And that's the thing with using Fusion. It can be overwhelming, and it is overwhelming. But the way that you can get through it and you can really learn and progress is by taking bite-sized chunks, just biting off little chunks. When you first sit down with it, you're going to look at it and you're going to be like, oh my goodness, I cannot believe all this information. I know nothing. What are they talking about? That was me. I mean, well, like 4 weeks ago, that was me. And what I did was I did it, like I went on YouTube, I tried to follow along, and I found that everybody just moves way too fast for me to learn from them. So I'd have to pause, rewind. They do things where you wouldn't know what they did or anything like that. And you'd really have to look, and I'd take notes, and then I'd go back and I'd try it, and it wouldn't work, and I'd go, and it was a frustrating process. So what I did is my very first I did a 1, 2, 3 block. So what I'm saying is this is one of my little pieces of the giant program as I am going through it and learning it. It's a little piece of how to checker a surface. It's so little, you may never use it, but you may want to use it at some point. Here is the tutorial. Jason with Luma Blades. I'm bringing you a Fusion 360 tutorial. This tutorial is going to be on texturing and texturing toolpaths to show you how to do. Today we're going to do basically a knurling type pattern on something, and this is something that took me a while to try to figure out, and it just took me a while, and I just figured it out tonight, and I figured I'd do a video. So we're in our Fusion menu, and we're going to click on the right plane. I don't think it really matters, okay? And the first thing you do is you save your work, okay? So we're going to save, we named it and saved it. So what we're going to do is we're just going to go L for line, okay? And we're just going to draw a box. We're going to take it very simple, guys. So I'm going to do a quick one here. Okay, so now we have our sketch. We're going to escape out of that. We're going to hit Q for press pull. We're going to just go one side. We'll make it 1 inch. Okay. So now what we did was we extruded it. Okay, so let's say all we want to do is we want to put a knurling, crosshatch knurling pattern on this face right here. So what we're going to do is switch from, well, let's just save our work. because Fusion has a tendency to just sometimes do weird stuff. So let's change from model to cam. Okay. And the first thing you do in cam is you do your setup. So you hit a new setup. Okay. And then you have your XY axis. So my XY axis here is incorrect for what I want to do here. So I'm going to come over here, operation type, milling, model orientation. What I like and my favorite so far is select Z-axis plane and X-axis. Okay, so I'm going to select Z-axis. I'm going to select the point, and I selected the face that we're going to work on. And let's see here. Sometimes it does do weird things. So I'll select Z-axis. Okay, so this is the orientation that I have it on my machine. So the idea of this is, you know, Z is up and down, Y is front and back, and X is left to right. So if I'm sitting at this area right here, if I'm facing it, and let's just say my belly is facing this part of the part, this is the correct orientation. So I did the setup. You want to set it up in here the way you want to set it up in your machine. The next tab over is your stock. Relative size box. Some people don't like it. Fixed size box. I like fixed size box because if I have a piece of stock that's 3 inches by 4 inches and I put it on the mill in the setup, I can enter 3 inches by 4 inches and put it in there. But we're just going to keep it as a relative size box just for the sake of this tutorial. Okay, so now I'm just going to hit OK. So if I wanted to mill this down and I had some sketches on here, I'd go to the 2D adaptive clearing, which I'll do at another time. But what we want to do now is we want to do a knurling pattern on here. So let's just say this is for a motorcycle kickstand that you hold on and you put down on a soft ground, and you put the kickstand in so the motorcycle doesn't sink into the ground and fall over when you're not looking. So that's what this part is if you need to wrap your head around something. So you're going to go 3D. You're going to go down to parallel. Okay. So now you have a parallel. You're going to select a tool. I'm going to use a 1/8 inch ball end mill. I'm just selecting from the tool library. Then I'm going to go to geometry, and so you select this. Selecting that geometry right there. Then I'm going to go to passes, and down here I'm going to go 45 degrees. Okay, I'm going to hit OK. It generated the passes at 45 degrees. Okay, so the step over, let's edit this step over a little bit. Let's go to parallel, right click parallel, edit. Let's go to passes. Let's go step over. I'm in millimeters here, guys. I should have changed it over to inches. Let's see if I can change that over to inches right now. I don't know if it's going to let me. I wish I could just figure out how to make this default always inches, because I never work in millimeters. So right click, edit. Did it change it over to inches? That's the big question. Yep, it did. Okay. So I'm 0.0625. Let's just make it 0.0600. 0.0600. Hit OK. We're at 45 degrees. OK. It'll generate that toolpath. Yeah, it's a little bit closer. Now what we want to do is we want to create basically a crosshatch pattern. So right click on parallel, left click on edit, go to passes, leave 45 degree the same, and you want to select add perpendicular passes. Okay. Hit OK. There you go. So now we have a crosshatch pattern that we're going to do. So let's see how this looks. Let's go to actions. We'll go to simulate. We'll show the stock and we'll play it. And you can mess with your speeds and feeds based on the material that you're using. I'm not really touching on that yet. I'm just trying to show guys. I know a couple of questions got raised on how to actually accomplish this on, for example, 1911 grips, other items. And the way that I did it manually, which is crazy, when I used to do it in like a more primitive program, is I would manually draw all these lines. I'd put reference points so I knew I was at 45 degrees. Then I would go and cross hatch it the other way. Then after that, I would go and basically push, pull the center quadrants of each one of these. This is unbelievable to me. Fusion 360 is an absolute wonderful program with this stuff. So you can change the pattern of this crosshatch. This is a pretty cool pattern. Let's look into it a little bit more. Let's see if we can zoom in. There we go. That's a pretty darn cool pattern. I think, and you could change it by changing your step over. You can make it either bigger or either smaller. Okay. Of course, I'm looking at this because I'm a knife maker as custom patterns for my scales. So let's say we didn't like that one. Let's just go. Let's close out of this. And again, guys, if I use the wrong nomenclature or something, you know, I'm not a professional. I'm just a guy that's trying his best to learn this. So let's go point 10. Let's see if it lets us do that. All right, it did. Okay, so let's run this toolpath right here, and let's just see how this looks. Let's simulate this, and let's show stock. Stock is on, and we'll hit play. Like I said, I'm just a regular guy that has no formal training, and I apologize if I use the incorrect nomenclature or anything like that. The purpose of my tutorials is twofold. The first fold is, you know, teaching, as I always say, is the best way to learn. And this is reinforcing what I just learned tonight. And yeah, see, this is giving it's giving even a nicer look to it, a nicer texture. And I'm able to do what others don't do, which is pass on this information in layman's terms to try to create a tutorial where if somebody's looking to do a certain task, that they're going to be able to find out how to do it, because that's the only way I found to learn. See how cool that looks, a little raised nibs. That's really cool. That's going to be a nice knife handle or any type of handle. But the only way I found to learn with Fusion 360 is to break it off in little tiny bites. Otherwise, it becomes overwhelming. And basically cross a bridge when you come to it. So, you know, I'm specifically using Fusion 360 for one purpose and one purpose only, to design my knives and to build knives. With that in mind, I had to learn how to draw a knife, which took me a while, and it's still not perfected. You can see all my projects in works here that I have going on. Here's one that I just did right now. I mean, I didn't do it right now, but I just did it yesterday. I learned how to do all this. So I am focusing on making the blade and making the scales and the mechanics of everything to make sure everything works, to make sure my lockup is in the correct place, all different things. I run into issues. One issue I ran into was, for some reason, the way I have the sketch, I guess, constrained, I was not able to mirror my blade. Okay. So there's a couple things that I do need to do to learn, and as I learn, and once I perfect this, I'm gonna put up a tutorial on where your lockup should be, how to adjust certain things on a knife. For example, right in this area, my lockup is too high. I have to chamfer this out. I'm going to radius it. Yes, it's going to give it a little bit larger hole, but it's going to put my lockup down low, which is what I need. And, you know, I learned this the hard way. I learned to draw my lock bar longer than what I drew my blade face so that I can actually grind to it to get a lockup that I need. Anyway, let's just see real quick right here if I'll just try it. Don't get upset if it doesn't work because I haven't tried it. Let's go model, cam, and let's go setup, new setup, and of course we gotta go milling, model orientation. This one was my favorite so far. Let's go Z-axis, and that clicked right to where I want it. We'll hit stock. We'll stay in relative size box, hit OK. So now let's just, to put it in a better perspective, let's see if we can do, let's see if we just texture this here. And again, this is learning as you go, parallel. And tool. And by selecting different end mills, you're going to get different patterns. I'm just going to stay with the 1/8 inch. 1/8 inch ball. Then I'll just go to geometry. Let's see, make sure I can strain this properly. Let's say I just want to texture that. That's all I want to texture. And that's all I want to texture. So let's go to passes. Let's change this to 45. 1.5875. Yeah, we'll just leave it. I'm not going to even bother. I'm going to hit OK. Give it a minute. There we go. So now it just textured that one area. Now I'm going to go and I'm going to edit. I'm going to go to passes. I'm going to add perpendicular passes, and I'm going to hit OK. Give it a minute to populate, and I have my lines there. Okay, so right at that point, I'm going to go to simulate. It's already automatically turned on. I'm going to hit play. And as you can see, it's following the area that I need. And I like to turn the stock on when I do this because it really shows a lot more of what it is doing. So this is a very easy way to add texturing to any item, really. So when this gets to the end, I'll turn stock off. And see, it's overshooting. And like I said, I don't have any of the tooling. Turn the stock off. And unfortunately, it's not going to show it. And that's my fault. So I want to figure out how to show it with it on, but that's the way it's going to look on there, which I think is super awesome, guys. So I hope that this toolpath in this tutorial helps answer something for some of you. And I'm not going to save that. And you know what? I'll just save the knurling, because sometimes I can look back. Save and quit. Alright guys, so this is Jason with Loom Blades, and I hope that you found this tutorial useful and informative, and I hope it helped answer some questions that you may have trying to take the frustration out of the learning process. The best way to do it is to do it. Take it little bite-sized chunks and just come up with the system and stay at it, guys. If you have any questions, just feel free to comment below. Thanks.